Transforming toys are my absolute favorite kind of toy. While action figures are cool, there's something about the puzzle element of transforming toys that really hooks me. Transformers is the poster boy of changing toys, but there is a huge world of Transformers that are not from the Transformers franchise. What's good, internet? Jake here, dumb as ever, and in today's video I'm continuing my conquest to cover every not Transformer in the world. This is volume 6, but don't worry, you're not missing anything. And if you like this video, I have a Transformers playlist with all of this series and all my other Transformers videos. Also, if you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing to help me defeat my nemesis, Algae Rhythm. Let's talk about Transformers that were made before Transformers. The Mysterians was a toy line by Knickerbocker Toys that was being designed in 1982. The line featured the Evil Warbots and the Golden Guardians, who were a part of the Hidden Force line. And these were robots that could transform into small geometric shapes like a sphere or a cube. There were also plans for Vehicle Mysterians, the Mobile Force. These Mysterians could transform from vehicle to robot, and if you're a Transformers fan, you may recognize these three as Huffer, Gears, and Brawn. If you're unfamiliar, the original Transformers toy line is made up of several Japanese toy lines, primarily Diaclone and Microchange, and it was originally thought by the fandom that Huffer, Gears, and Brawn originated from the Microchange line, but it seems that they were actually designed to be Mysterians toys and were sold to Takara at some point, which is how they ended up in the Microchange line and how they ultimately ended up as the Transformers we know today. It's pretty complicated, thanks to TF Wiki for having a whole article about it. In 1984, Hasbro acquired Knickerbocker Toys, and the development of the Mysterians seemed to halt with the acquisition, which is why the Mobile Force Mysterians didn't actually come to US retail until they were under the Transformers branding. But no worries, the Hidden Force Mysterians did eventually come out, produced and released by the toy company March On. We can only assume how March On ended up with these toy designs. It's kind of weird to me that Hasbro would sell these designs instead of adding them to the Transformers roster, but maybe they just didn't have faith in the designs or couldn't figure out how to fit them in the line. Regardless, in 1984, March On released the Mysterians, the Secret Force, which was a line of robots that transform into random shapes. There were 6 toys released in the line overall. Major Repair is a cube that transforms into a goofy little robot on wheels. He has 4 tools that can store in his chest or be held. His tools kinda look like the ones Lego figures use to me. I like how this fellow looks. He's friend-shaped, and that shape is a cube. There's also Explorer Scout, a rover-looking robot. His gimmick is that he comes with a bunch of maps and has one of those red things that reveals the info on the map, kinda like the G1 Transformers tech specs. And I really like that Explorer Scout has a little compass on the top of his head. Sadly, it's just a sticker though. It would've been really cool if it was a real compass. Enforcer comes with a little pet robot, which is cute, though otherwise he's a pretty basic looking dude, though he does have a little scope you can look through when you flip his head back. Air Commander is one of the coolest bots in the line to me. His shape mode is peculiar to say the least, but his robot mode is so goofy and cool. He has an Ultron type of face where it just looks like a helmet has been placed over energy. I love that he has long legs with little wheeled feet at the bottom of them. Air Commander also comes with a little pet. This one looks more like another sentient robot than Enforcers. Maybe it's an alternate body he can use to escape or something. Bomber is probably my least favorite. He just looks awkward in robot mode, though he does have some hidden missiles, which is cool. Also, his face makes me think he's the Fallen's cousin or something. Finally, we have Tank Commander, who turns into a lovely little sphere, very Bakugan coded. He looks so silly in robot mode with his little wheels and squished head. He low-key reminds me of Dead End, Unicron's Minicon from Transformers Armada, but he's also giving the Sphere robot from The Incredibles. These seem to be the only Mysterians ever released, and I gotta say they're a fun batch of toys. I really like the idea of robots that just turn into random shapes, and I enjoy the retro look of these robots. Neon Genesis Evangelion is an amazing anime about giant robots fighting mysterious monsters called angels. The show has become a franchise known around the world, and there have been thousands of pieces of merchandise made for it. Evangelion is so funny because it's so not a kids show in so many ways, but the amount of merch it gets would make you think it's the SpongeBob of Japanese television. From scissors to suitcases, there is so much merch for Eva. And you know McDonald's had to get in on that. It's crazy how McDonald's is in like every country. I feel like each one should function as a mini United States embassy. Evangelion collabed with McDonald's for its 30th anniversary. They made a hilarious commercial that features a McDonald's themed Eva unit, and the characters are edited to be holding McDonald's items. Japan is so funny with this stuff, man. It always feels like there is genuine effort put into these crazy ideas. For this collab, McDonald's offered 3 new sandwiches based on the cast of Neon Genesis Evangelion, as well as a set of 3 toys based on the main 3 Eva units. But these are not just toys, they're transforming toys. That's right, baby, we got the Evangelion Big Mac before GTA 6. These of course aren't the first transforming McDonald's toys. I actually did a whole video on the McChangeables line of transforming Happy Meal toys a while ago. And it's great to see a modern day version of the same idea with an Evangelion flavor. This set of 3 was only available to people who joined a lottery drawing on their McDonald's mobile app. Japan likes to do these lottery events a lot more than America, and to be clear, winning the lottery didn't mean you get the toys for free. It just means you had the option to purchase them if you won. There was some drama apparently because McDonald's started selling the sets over the counter to people who did not win the lottery, probably because they didn't sell as much as they expected through the lottery. Of course, some people were mad about this, feeling as though they had wasted their time going through the lottery. Not my problem though, these are cool as hell. I don't care about the Japanese McDonald's drama. The first thing that jumps out to me about these toys is how big they are. They are unironically life-size compared to the actual food and drinks McDonald's sells. And the transformations, while simple, are still more complex than the original McDonald's changeables. They all even have special weapons and accessories. Eva Unit 01 transforms from a Big Mac and comes with an AT field that sits on the top of the sesame seed bun. Eva Unit 02 turns into a container of french fries and includes the iconic Spear of Longinus, though this version is made out of french fries of course. And finally, Eva Unit 00 can transform into a drink and comes with a shield. While their alternate modes are impeccable, the robot modes end up with a lot of kibble, and they're all pretty much shell formers, which is a word Transformers fans use to describe Transformers that don't really transform much and end up stuffed into a shell of larger pieces. While Unit 00 and Unit 01 just look like the robots with cup lids and burgers attached to their arms, Unit 02 ends up looking a lot goofier, with the McDonald's golden arches sitting proudly on its chest like the Autobot symbol. These 3 are so fun, and it was exciting to hear about them late last year. It's good to know that there will always be weird new transforming toys coming out, at least in Japan. In Volume 3 of this series, I talked about Turning Mechard, a Korean toy line that came to America and was basically Bakugan but cars. Spin Master got upset and sued Mattel, who was distributing the line. I guess we don't technically know if the lawsuit killed Turning Mechard, but it probably didn't help. Well, apparently, there is another toy line from China with basically the exact same premise as Turning Mechard, called Screechers Wild. Screechers is about toy cars that can use energy discs to power up and transform into large mechanical beasts. What's funny is that Screechers Wild and Turning Mechard basically came out at the exact same time. There are 2 different shows for Screechers Wild. The original show is a hobby anime which proposes Screechers as a battling game, though the actual American releases of the toys don't really have a game attached at all. The original show also has the Screechers being sentient, much like Bakugan, but there was also a series of web cartoons released on YouTube that shows Screechers Wild to be a world filled with anthropomorphic animals, and the cars are just machines that can transform with the help of energy discs. I watched a bit of both, and I'm not gonna lie, I like the Flash animated one a lot more. The anime is like a full-on cartoon, while the web series episodes are more like shorts, just giving you peeks into the universe. The toys themselves are pretty cool. The Screechers have little mousetrap-like engineering, so when they are activated by a disc, the panel flips, causing the toys to do a backflip when transformed. The gimmick works pretty reliably, and we would see a less consistent version of this gimmick with the Bakugan reboot a couple years later. The Screechers toy line was separated into 3 different levels. Level 1 featured simple cars with simple transformation schemes. Nightweaver is a spider-like level 1 car. I like the way the hood splits apart to make the face. Level 2 cars like V-Rex are slightly bigger, but don't seem much more complicated. V-Rex is a T-Rex that turns into a tank, which is awesome. I love how the tank barrel becomes V-Rex's tail. And finally, there's level 3, which featured even bigger vehicles that require 2 energy discs to transform, like Scorpio Drift, who is a very menacing looking robot scorpion. I think levels 1 and 3 are cool, but level 2 is really a sweet spot of the line to me. I love the use of transparent plastics, and the designs just seem cooler to me. Rattlecat is giving full Zoids energy, and Gate Creeper has an excellent name. Also, I just love praying mantis themed robots. Remember how I said Spin Master sued Mattel over turning Mechard? Unsurprisingly, they also sued Alpha Toys, the distributors of Screechers Wild, putting both of the toy lines into an indefinite hiatus. Spin Master claimed both Mattel and Alpha Toys use their patented technology, and I can't really speak to that, but I'll say this. The toy space would not be as nearly unique or interesting if ideas were patented like Spin Master would prefer. And it's rich that they took this stance and later made Bakugan G3 a god-awful Beyblade ripoff. I think the truth of the matter is that Spin Master knew they were about to drop Bakugan G2 and didn't want a bunch of competition in the toy aisle. And they sure didn't thanks to these dumb lawsuits. Though Spin Master being Spin Master, their success ultimately amounted to nothing, as they let Bakugan G2's TCG fall apart and relied way too much on gimmick ideas instead of just making good Bakugan toys, which is exactly what they did in the first generation of Bakugan, by the way. While I don't like turning Mechard or Screechers Wild that much, I very much dislike spineless corporations who try and monopolize concepts and ideas even more. And I really hope Screechers and Mechard make a comeback in the USA, just as a little extra salt in Spin Master's wound from the critical failure of Bakugan G3. Let me tell you guys about one of my favorite underrated 80s toy lines, Computer Warriors by Mattel. I have no idea how I haven't talked about these guys yet, but now is the time. Computer Warriors came out in 1989 and featured the heroic computer warriors fighting villainous viruses. The two factions wage war while hiding in battle stations and vehicles disguised as everyday objects. For example, a digital clock or a Pepsi can. The Pepsi can is pretty bizarre, but also one of the standout pieces in the line. The can splits in two and a little hovercraft can fly out of it. I love how the inside of the Pepsi can has motherboards and stuff. Also, this toy would be the perfect companion piece for my Pepsi Prime figure. The figures themselves are little 2-inch guys with 4 points of articulation. The computer warriors look more humanoid while the viruses are completely monstrous. I have to say the sculpting and paint is pretty amazing, especially when you look at their backs, which have a ton of technological detailing. Their backs basically look like motherboards themselves. There wasn't a full cartoon for Computer Warriors, but there was a straight to VHS cartoon that kind of acted like a pilot episode to a series that was never made. The viruses, led by Megahertz, are accidentally released by the government and make an escape through the bit stream, but Parallax, the main computer system, summons the Computer Warriors, led by ROM, to capture the viruses. Through a freak accident, the viruses end up in the human world and are completely confused by everything in it. The Computer Warriors follow them but are ambushed by the viruses hiding in everyday objects that can turn into weapons platforms. It's never explained or shown on screen how exactly they do this. I guess the writers couldn't even properly explain why a Pepsi can is considered a piece of technology, but in the end, ROM is able to capture the viruses in computer disks, only for the human who owns the computer to find the disks and take them to his friend's house, ending on a to be continued screen. It was not continued, but this was a neat little cartoon and a good enough introduction to the line in my mind. The toy line itself is absolutely amazing. I love the concept of stuff like a pencil sharpener that turns into a techno jet. By the way, apparently the pencil sharpener could actually sharpen pencils, which is fun. And the flashlight that turns into a rocket ship was also functional, though I imagine neither of these toys were actually that good at pencil sharpening or flashlighting. There was also a calculator that turned into a tank, as well as a soccer trophy that could open up into a turret. There were 2 playsets in this line. The viruses had a book that would transform into their evil lair. The book is humorously titled Invasion of the Viruses. They'll never find you guys in there. And the second playset, and the crown jewel of the line, is the computer playset. It was a classic looking 90s PC that could turn into the Computer Warriors base of operations. They put so much into this playset, it's insane. There's an area for the Computer Warriors to sit and, well, compute. There are several blasters that can be manned on either side of the base. There's a docking area for 2 hover cars, a jail cell for those pesky viruses, and you can pull out the disk drive and fire CDs at your enemies in this very blocky tank. This is genuinely one of the coolest playsets I've ever seen, and is definitely a holy grail toy for me. The whole line itself is not that big, so it could be a fun one to collect. Computer Warriors is the perfect mix of 80s toys with 90s computer culture mixed in. This would be a cool line to revitalize. I think it would be funny if they kept the early 90s vibe though. I don't know, I think a modern PC playset might be a bit boring. Recently, I've been getting into Korean Transformers toys like Metal Cardbot, and I've also recently become obsessed with tokusatsu shows like Super Sentai, and recently a series that kind of covers both has caught my eye. Miniforce. Miniforce is a show and toy line from SamG Entertainment that started in 2014, meaning the franchise is over 10 years old, but somehow I've only come across it now. But I'm sure glad I did. I watched a few episodes of the original cartoon, and it's cute. The main idea of the show is that these little animals named Volt, Sammy, Lucy, and Max are Miniforce agents. Their job is to fight evil villains and protect other animals, which I like. The show isn't super funny to me, though it definitely tries to be, but I think the idea of these cartoony animals turning into humanoid Power Rangers is so funny. And it seems like something Super Sentai would actually do. Something that makes it extra funny to me is that in their powered up form, they are still small. I don't know why, I just figured they became human-sized in agent form, but no, they are basically the same height. Though it is hard to tell because they fight in the desert a lot. The first season is about the agents fighting Nine, who looks like Syndrome, and Pascal, an evil ex-agent that is very powerful. The Miniforce's mecha were cars in the first season, and of course they could all combine into Force Giantron. Miniforce has had many iterations over the years, with Miniforce X being a standout series from what I've researched, though I haven't watched it. But in this video, I really wanted to talk about Miniforce Dinoid, the newest series in the franchise that has been making waves online, especially in the Transformers fandom. People were already discussing Korean Transformers more since the news that Agabus is bringing SamG Entertainment's other show, Metal Cardbot, to the States, and then these amazing Miniforce toys started hitting the timeline. I haven't been able to find the show in full, so I've just been watching these clips that the official Miniforce YouTube channel has posted, and man, even just the clips from the show are fire. In Miniforce Dinoid, the team meets Rex Kaiser, a giant dinosaur robot called a Dinoid that can shapeshift down into a little animal like the rest of the team. I've watched these clips with auto-translated subtitles, so take this with a grain of salt, but as I understand it, there are villains trying to capture the other Dinoid's great coins, which seems to be their sources of power. Rex Kaiser, who is called Tira in his mini form, and the other Miniforce agents must work together to save the Dinoids. And the Dinoids combine with Rex Kaiser at the end of each episode and are stored in coins that the agents use to summon them. The show is neat, but the real star of Miniforce Dinoid is the toys themselves. The Dinoids are fun, chunky robots that turn into these truly bizarre big head vehicles. When I first saw them, I disliked them because what is that? But over time, I've come to like the idea more. It doesn't make any sense to me, but the dinosaur head vehicle things are fun, just like the rest of the show. And I do like the creative approach instead of more dinosaur toys like we've seen 100 times. Each Dinoid comes with a die-cast metal coin, which is nice. I always appreciate a little bit of die-cast in my toys. But I can't help but feel like the Dinoid Great Coins are super similar to the Cyber Planet keys from Transformers Cybertron, especially Frozen Tiger's Great Coin, which is a dead ringer for the Jungle Planet key. It's all looks-based though, since the Great Coins don't activate abilities, and will be more than likely used for a role roleplay toy in the future. My favorite of the normal Dinoids is Mag Kilo, who is based on an Ankylosaurus. I love the use of translucent plastic throughout his body, and his mace and shield weapons are awesome. The best toy in the line, and potentially of the year, is Rex Kaiser. This gigantic T-Rex is absolutely amazing. I love the color scheme, and design-wise, he has the best elements of T-Ra from Abba Ranger, and his mouth can open up to roar, and he even has a neck joint to look down. Rex Kaiser only becomes more impressive in robot mode. He combines with the included Miniforce car that the agents use to get around. The T-Rex forms the body while the car transforms into the head of the mecha. This robot is one of the best looking robot designs I've seen in years. The colors are amazing, the proportions are perfect, and the posability is insane. I'm not joking when I say this one toy alone is blowing Hasbro, Takara, and Bandai out of the water. Of course, like any good Power Rangers show, Rex Kaiser can combine with the smaller Dinoids. Right now, only 4 other Dinoids are out to form his arms and give him some dinosaur-shaped boots. His combined form is a bit of a mess, but that's kind of expected from a toy line like this, and I bet the designs get even wackier as the rest of the toys come out. Miniforce Dinoid is truly one of the coolest toy lines I've seen in a while, and it makes perfect sense coming from the people who are also making Metal Cardbot, which I think is an equally exciting toy line. Recently, SamG Entertainment put out a statement saying they're trying to expand their brands globally, and I hope they bring Miniforce to the West, because I do believe with a slightly better dub, it could fill that Power Rangers size hole in the market. If they do bring the show over, I hope they just start with Dinoid out of the gate, because the product offering is so strong. That's all for this one, folks. Thanks for watching, and if you liked it, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you'd like to support me further, I have both YouTube memberships and a Patreon. Both are only $1 a month and give you access to my very chill Discord where we do monthly movie nights and Toku nights. For the next movie night, we're watching Godzilla -1 on May 10th, 2025 at 6 p.m. EST. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.